Hey everyone, and welcome to Five Questions with Seth, this time the Penance Absolution edition. So as always, we start off with a quick synopsis of the book, and then we jump right on into the questions. So Penance Absolution. Penance Absolution, probably Alex Penance's greatest challenge yet. He's on this arc, obviously, from book one, book two, to become a kinder, gentler Alex Penance, if you can believe that. And that is certainly put to the test in Penance Absolution. When Annie Hunt gets kidnapped, all rules go out the window, and Penance is clearly on a mission to do what he has to do to save Annie. And then after that mission, he's 100% dedicated to being done with all this stuff. Go after the head of the snake and take down the cartel from the top for once and for all. And that is the very brief Penance Absolution in a nutshell. As you know, I almost stopped writing Alex Penance. This flawed character, I didn't know what to do with him necessarily. But what I learned very early on is this was a story about growth and redemption, and not about the mistakes, flaws that we make. So that is Penance and Penance Absolution. Let's go jump into the questions. Question one. Let's talk about the arc in Penance from book one to book three. It's a great question, and there's a couple of different ways to look at this, right? There's the story arc, so we can look at the good guys, bad guys arc from book one, two, and three. But what it really comes down to is the arc of Alex Penance himself. Is this hotshot FBI agent ready for promotion, makes a little mistake, and then gets exiled to this little forgotten outpost in fictitious Sawyer, Mississippi. Chip on his shoulder, wants to hate everything, and then this cast around him and circumstances just really starts to chip it away at him and really change who he is as a human being. And that is really what the crucial story arc of all Penance is really about, is about FBI agent Alex Penance and his growth as an agent, but more importantly, his growth as a human being. So it's so much fun to write. Second question, how do you go about creating such a rich cast of supporting characters? Absolutely fantastic question, especially with Penance. It's probably been the most fun cast of characters for me to create in all of my books, and I loved all of them. The ones in Penance, they're so sweet. You got Southern hospitality at its finest. You have just huge, big hearts. There's really bad guys out there. There's bad guys in their midst, and there's Alex with his bad attitude. There's the DA with his bad attitude. But yet you've got this group that forms, and there's so much fun stories to write, from the wacky Shannon Watcom to obviously Bubba and his mom, to field director Dixon, and of course perhaps the most important is Annie herself. It's so much fun to write. In the terms of Penance, they were key. They were key to Penance's journey, and they were key to the story. There were even side, characters that had some really clear relevance, if not to the story itself, hopefully to others, whether it's taking on racism or human trafficking or any of these nonsense that society has, and rooting them out. It's fun to be able to tell stories that are honest and sometimes brutal, to make those things known and to kind of punch them in the jaw a little bit. That's the fun of being a writer. I get to do that to bad guys. Third question, a little bit of a follow-on to the question prior. How do you go about creating characters like Annie, where at one point she's a damsel, but yet she's still very much strong? So Annie does have times where she's a damsel in distress. It's not because she's not strong. It's not because she's not capable. There's just forces around her that at the moment are greater than her, and she unfortunately succumbs to them. But no, if you look all the way back to my very, very first novel, Blood in the Snow, all the way through my latest Christmas novels, I have strong female characters throughout, whether they're a lead or a love interest. And the truth is, I've had strong female counterparts around me for my entire life, whether they were bosses or moms, sisters, spouses that are just kind and strong and supportive, not just supportive of the people around them, but even in themselves. So no, it's fun writing women like that, where they can be soft and feminine and super sweet, but at the same time have a core of great strength and to be edgy. Like take Annie Hunt. She doesn't take anybody's nonsense, including Penance's. Even Abducted. She's not super tolerant of the bad guys either. And give her moment, she'll take care of business herself. So no, it's a lot of fun writing characters like Annie, because they can be soft, sweet, that romantic interest, but they can kick a little butt along the way as well. Fourth question, what happens next? I ask myself that question all the time. Thank you for asking it yourself. As it stands, Penance 1, 2, and 3 are what we've got. Truth be told, I penciled out 4, 5, and 6, and who knows where it goes beyond that. At the moment, this is where we are. I repeatedly get calls from readers, editors, my publishers to continue this series, and I very well might. I don't know. In the meantime, you guys get to, in your own mind, try to think about it. Do Annie and Penance get married? Does Penance get a promotion and have to leave? Does Annie follow if that happens? Who knows? But that's part of the fun of these stories. Here's the really fun thing. You care, and I care as well. So that makes all this that much more rewarding when a series does potentially come to an end and there's those questions. You want to know what happens to Alex next. You want to know how his life turns out. And I do too. So it's a lot of fun, and we'll see where it goes. So as always, I end with a question from my writer friends. Thank you. You didn't let me off the hook at all. So kind of a carry on for the last question. Do you stop? Do you keep going? Age-old question. I honestly don't know. Up until now, Penance has easily been my most successful series. My Beach House Mysteries is certainly taking hold and catching up. But I think that there's still more story to tell. I'm not sure when I set out writing Penance that I meant for it to be more than a single book. But I quickly found out that Alex's journey wasn't over. So perhaps after Penance Absolution, his journey is not yet over still. With that, if you haven't picked up the Penance series, grab it. It's a fun, fast read. It's kind of in the guise of like Elmer Leonard. So for those of you who've watched Justified, for example, my wife kind of finds Alex Penance a little bit preacher-ish, as in like lead child, or Reacher, not preacher. So if you've seen Reacher or if you read the Reacher books, she kind of has a likeness to. It's mainly he doesn't put up with anybody's nonsense. That's probably where it comes from. And he's a little brutal with the bad guys, but they're really bad guys. So yeah, it is what it is. I don't know. We will certainly see. It's been an insanely fun series to write. Here's what it is. When you create this cast of characters, and that goes back to one of the earlier questions, these guys live with you. As a writer, these guys have been with me for over half a decade. And when you're writing these series, and you're that deep in it, they literally become like your friends. So when I close out the book and I've done my first draft and I go on to another project, it's almost like I've dropped my friends off at the airport. I miss them a little bit. So I'd love to catch up with the cast of crew, Bubba and Annie and everybody else, and see where they're at. So thank you for all the questions. Thank you for spending some time with 5 Questions with Seth. And I look forward to getting you on the next one. It'll be soon. Talk to you.